Hi, and welcome to the CinemaBeach podcast. I'm Brian Thompson.
And I'm Tony Ortiz.
We're coming at you from downtown Long Beach in front of the Cinemark Theater. Today we're going to be talking to you about what's going on in the world of independent film. We're going to review Like Crazy. We're going to talk about what's out in theaters, some DVD recommendations. But first, let's talk about what's going on in the world of independent film news. Filmmaker Hal Hartley this week announced that he's got a new film coming out. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough money to finish it, so he's taken to the internet, specifically Kickstarter.com, to find funding for his film. I don't know if you've heard about Kickstarter at all.
No, I haven't really heard much about Kickstarter.
It's a crowdfunding site, so it's basically it's really great for filmmakers to actually go on there, and they basically say, hey, I need X amount of money. So Hal Hartley's thing is he's actually saying, oh, donate $5, $10 to my film. We're actually going to use that money to finish post-production. $25 will get you a special edition copy of the DVD. It's actually something he's actually producing. You can actually donate as much as $1,000, and $1,000 will get you a co-producer credit on the film.
Oh, I'm going to do that today.
It's pretty cool, and if you're a fan of Hal Hartley, it's actually kind of a cool opportunity.
I like Faye Grimm, so...
Faye Grimm, Henry Fool. He's a weird kind of fun action indie filmmaker. He's pretty neat. So Kickstarter is pretty cool. Actually, one of the things that came out this week was that Roger Ebert is saying he's going to pull the plug on At the Movies.
Yeah.
Apparently, they have no money to finish the show, and
they should start going through Kickstarter.
That's what the big recommendations out there have been. Is there's a lot of people who like the show, and they said, hey, we'll kick out $5, $10 to do the show. Yeah. So. Public
funding.
Public funding for public television, apparently. It's kind of, what a concept. Some other news. The Sunset 5 is closing in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Do you like that theater?
I do.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool theater.
One of my favorite.
It's been kind of a landmark, but it's not the landmark. It's been kind of a landmark for indie films in Southern California. Limley actually owns the Sunset 5, and they've used it as their kind of niche, edgy film kind of house. They're closing. They apparently don't make that much money, and Sundance Cinemas is moving in.
Well, we'll see how that'll go.
Yeah, I'm actually
not going to be the same.
No, Sundance Cinemas actually open in San Francisco and Houston and a couple other cities around the country. They mostly show fare like what you would find at the ArcLight and at the Landmark. So kind of what we might say mainstream indie films, films that some people might have heard of. Definitely not the kind of ultra small, ultra low budget indie releases that you would find at the Sunset.
And nothing by Robert Redford.
It'll definitely be a Robert Redford thing.
All Robert Redford movies.
Sunset 5 would never show Robert Redford movies.
They don't like him, but Sundance does.
One of the weird things is actually people are saying what's going to happen to the future of The Room. This movie, The Room, is kind of considered one of the worst films ever made, and it has a kind of a famous midnight screening that happens regularly at the Sunset 5 that sells out. And actually Sunset 5 kind of counts it as one of their best-selling shows because they get more people in the theater for that movie every month than they do for every other movie that they play. So
how many people were chasing Butch and Sundance? You remember? It was LaFour's, but how many do you have in his posse? I need to come out with the LaFour's 8, right across the street from the Sundance.
I think it
5.
was 8.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We'll have the LaFour's 8 right next, and we'll only play movies that the Sundance doesn't play, and we'll kill them.
We'll kill them. We'll hunt them down.
Well, we don't know if they'll actually die at the end, but
Well, yeah.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
And then we'll open the Blackthorn Theater across the street from that. What else do we got going on? Here in the U.S., here in Santa Monica, actually, we have the American Film Market, which is the largest market here in the United States for indie films. Tons of movies are bought there. Tons of announcements came out this week, including Terrence Malick, kind of a notoriously reclusive filmmaker who doesn't make a lot of movies, announced that he's got 2 movies coming out.
Been holding them from us.
Apparently.
Which I was glad for. Unlike Mick, I'm not a Terrence Malick fan, but...
we actually argue about this a lot.
Me and Terrence.
There are...
Sorry, Terrence, if you're watching this out there.
Probably not.
podcast land.
But yeah, he's got two films coming back to back, actually, starring Christian Bale and Cate Blanchett, both of them.
Yeah, I do like me some Christian Bale though, and Cate Blanchett. So I'll go give him a shot, anyways.
It'll be very kind of dreamy, surreal photography and boring storylines, and you know.
Mick though thought he loved Tree of Life, so I'm still gonna watch Tree of Life just based on Mick's recommendation. No, I'm boycotting Terrence Malick.
Well, Tree of Life won at Cannes, and it's out on DVD right now, so definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Coming up, we're actually going to review the movie Like Crazy, the new kind of indie darling that some people don't like. We'll see how we like it. Stick around.
For more film news, check out the news feed on our website at cinemabeach.com. There you can find all the current happenings in the world of independent film, from trailers to casting announcements, production reports to film festival updates. The news feed at Cinema Beach is your best source for indie film news. While you're there, subscribe to our RSS feed, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
Anna?
Jacob, hi.
Let's go. Where do you want to go?
Tell me everything that happened. Tell me everything you saw.
They had lights inside their eyes. They had lights inside their eyes.
Did you see the closing?
What are we gonna do after we graduate?
Don't think about it. They were kids that I once knew. They were kids that I once knew. Jacob, I'm gonna stay.
You can't do that.
Why?
Your visa. Okay.
This is what's going to happen. You will be placed on the plane immediately and returned back to the UK.
Hi, Jacob. I'm sorry I missed your call again.
Maybe we can try tomorrow. Let me know when's good for you to talk.
Wise men.
I wanted to know how my new junior editor was doing.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hey.
Just give me a couple days. I'll get there, okay?
Unfortunately, I can't lift the ban. I'm sorry.
This doesn't feel like I'm a part of your life. I feel like I'm on vacation.
It's hard to keep stopping and starting.
The new movie Like Crazy, directed by Drake Doremus, stars Anton Yelchin and Felicity Jones as a pair of college kids who fall in love and unfortunately are ripped apart because of some visa problems. Felicity Jones plays a British student who unfortunately cannot get back into the U.S. because she overstayed her visa. Their relationship actually becomes a long-distance relationship that suffers all the problems that kind of come with that ground. It's a fantastic movie that really understands what I think relationships are today, especially in this kind of global society. I loved the movie. I thought it was borderline brilliant. I definitely had some problems with it, but acting-wise, it was amazing. The direction was spot on from a guy who hasn't really done anything. Local kid from Orange, California, that just kind of nailed it. I don't know. What'd you think?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to argue with you. I mean, I like arguing with you, but I love the film. Also finding out that they had no script, really, only like a 50-page script or something like that. And most of it was improv.
Yeah.
Was really interesting. But yeah, I love the film.
You know, and you could tell that it's improv. I think if you didn't know that going in, it kind of is something a little bit better. Of course, we've just ruined it for you if you haven't seen the movie.
Spoiler.
But it's improv, and I think knowing that, you kind of understand that there's some awkward silences that I think you can tell that they're trying to figure out what they're going to say or kind of what the next beat of the scene is. And that actually ends up lending something kind of
feels realer.
Yeah, it's kind of raw. I think it actually lends some authenticity to it because it's kind of like when you're in a relationship early on, and there are those kind of uncomfortable silences from time to time, and sometimes they're magical silences. And I think that's one of the great things about what he's doing here.
This movie had a lot of those moments in it.
Yeah, there's like moments of just looking at each other and falling in love, and that's actually some of the more magical scenes in the film. There are times though that it just does feel like it's dragging. There's a scene when they first meet and they're in a coffee shop and they don't really know what to say to each other, and it's.
Yeah, but I like that part though. It's kind of this.
I think there's a fine line between, like, as a director knowing, okay, I'm either going to cut or I'm going to kind of redo this and kind of speed it along. I mean, the pacing of the film is slow, it's deliberate, but I think for somebody who isn't used to that kind of movie, might feel like, what's going on here? Why aren't they hooking up already?
This is an independent film though, and that's why the
True.
difference. I mean, the same thing could be said about last year's Blue Valentine, which I guess this was this year, last year.
Last year, yeah.
Last year's Blue Valentine had that real feeling too of a relationship. Obviously, totally different direction, a little bit of a downer, but.
Well, this movie is a downer in a sense. I mean, it's tough to kind of talk about the film without talking about the ending. But it's a movie about two people who very passionately fall in love, and there's kind of a fine line between the definition of love versus infatuation. They're definitely infatuated with each other, but they want it to be something more. And there's kind of a question of, can they have it be something more? Despite the problems that happened, the bureaucracy of the State Department, denying her visa, is this relationship strong enough to stand on its own? I think it's a question that you have to ask while you're watching the movie. It's a question that I think, critically, they don't ask of each other, and that becomes kind of a problem in the film. And I think for some people, they might actually have a hard time with, why aren't they being more mature? Why aren't they? It's been 7 years. Why aren't they just kind of getting over this relationship and moving on? The direction,
I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
What did you like about it?
I just like pretty much everything about the movie. You think about it, you just kind of let these people go, which happens to give it, as we said before, a real feeling. And just to trust the two actors. I mean, obviously he picked two actors who could pull that off, I don't know how much this movie was made for, but it obviously, I don't think was made for a ton of money, or else we wouldn't be talking about it.
I was talking to Mick before we were shooting, and I kind of mentioned that one of the things that Drake is doing with this film is it's almost like he's definitely inspired by the French New Wave, and I think our critic Colin, on his review on the website, actually kind of compared it to Breathless in a sense. There's definitely some kind of cinema verite stuff going on here.
Yeah, definitely. See that.
It's almost like there was a movie that came out a few weeks ago called Weekend, Andrew Hay film about two guys in England that hook up, and same thing. It's kind of like we're spying on them. The camera's kind of conveniently following these two guys. It's kind of what Drake is doing with this film as well.
I really feel that in the movie, and so that's why I think, as far as directing, I think it was, as you said before, spot on.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
And it's a weird thing, too, the pacing of the film. While I said that, there are some scenes that kind of drag, and I feel like it could have been a little tighter. One of the great things about the movie is that it actually, the editing in the film is very stylized, and it's kind of interesting that he's able to kind of cover a relationship, a 7-year relationship, with all the trials and tribulations that they go through in 90 minutes. And you really get a sense that, wow, we've been with these people for 7 years. We understand, and I think we see that in Anton Yelchin and Felicity Jones at the beginning of their relationship. They're kind of sweet and innocent and naive, and by the end of their relationship, by the end of the film, there's something kind of adult about them that maybe they're on the verge of understanding what love is and what a committed relationship is. And it's it's kind of interesting, that ending, and without kind of giving too much away, it's very ambiguous, and we don't really know.
They both die. No,
yeah. Well, they do eventually. I guess everybody does, but but do they die together? That's the question.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like, you kind of wonder as a viewer, do they stay together? Do they, can this relationship last?
Yeah, that's why I like the whole movie as a whole. I don't think you can. It's one of my favorite romance type movies, and at least this year so far.
So I think we're both saying, check it out. It's definitely worth your time if you can find it in a few theaters around town.
I think it's worth a watch for me.
Definitely.
Only the smudgeness of it, the eagerness of it, the idea of it, you and me.
Coming up, we're going to give our DVD recommendation of the week, so don't go away.
I'm right back.
To check out more about this movie, head on over to the review section at CinemaBeach.com. Read the complete review or check out the other reviews on the site. Updated weekly, we've got you covered on all the films playing in Southern California's art houses. You can also browse our archives for past reviews from all of our contributors.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I dream about being a good father and a good husband. And sometimes that feels really close. But then other times, it seems silly. Like it would ruin my whole life. And it's not just a fear of commitment or that I'm incapable of caring or loving, because I can. It's just that if I'm totally honest with myself, I think I'd rather die knowing that I was really good at something, that I had excelled in some way, than that I'd just been in a nice, caring relationship.
Yeah. But I had worked for this older man, and once he told me that he had spent all of his life thinking about his career and his work, and he was 52, and it suddenly struck him that he had never really given anything of himself. His life was for no one and nothing. He was almost crying saying that. You know, I believe if there's any kind of God, it wouldn't be in any of us. Not you or me, but just this little space in between. If there's any kind of magic in this world, it must be in the attempt of understanding someone, sharing something. I know, it's almost impossible to succeed, but who cares, really? The answer must be in the attempt.
Our DVD recommendation of the week is the 1995 Richard Linklater film Before Sunrise. The movie stars Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, who are two characters who meet on a train in Europe and decide to get off together in Germany and spend the whole day and into the evening. It's kind of a circumstance, what if type of movie. What if these two people who've never met before, complete strangers, decide to spend the night together with the promise that they will never see each other again. It was kind of a big success back in the mid-'90s and kind of launched Richard Linklater's career. He actually made a sequel to this called Before Sunset. This one's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset 10 years later.
I think they're making a third, actually.
It makes sense. I mean, it's definitely these are two characters who are intriguing.
You keep wanting to see them get back together.
You do want to see them get together. So basically, it's a story that kind of contemplates the nature of relationships and love, and it's actually kind of a perfect fit, as we said, for Like Crazy.
Like Crazy.
Yeah, it's a film that I think defines mid-'90s indie film making and kind of the ideas of it's kind of pseudo-intellectual discussions of love. It's definitely not a film for everybody. I think if you are in any way kind of offended by pretentious notions, don't watch the movie. Ethan Hawke kind of comes off as an asshole in the movie.
Yeah, I don't like Ethan Hawke. I'm not a big Ethan Hawke fan.
You're not, yeah. You've said that before.
Yeah, once again, I do not like Ethan Hawke, but I did like this movie. So, even if you don't like Ethan Hawke, check this.
I don't know if you remember. There's that scene where the fortune teller tells Julie Delpy her fortune, and Ethan Hawke kind of goes on this long tirade about, well, what do you expect? You're paying her. She's not going to give you bad news. She's going to tell you everything that's going to come up rosy. And he kind of comes off as like kind of an a-hole, and she even mentions it later on in the movie. It's that alone for me makes me kind of I don't really like this movie. He's a little too pretentious. The relationship kind of feels like it shouldn't go anywhere. But then by the end, you kind of feel like, well, wait a minute. He's actually being very honest, and that's kind of the point of the movie, is that in this circumstance, you can be honest because you're never going to see this person again. And sometimes being honest makes you kind of develop a relationship. So I don't know. It's a great movie. Regardless of what I just said about him being an asshole, it's actually charming that he's an asshole. So,
and we can say that because we're a podcast.
Yes, we have no problems with swearing on this show. So,
and if Ethan sees it, you come down and argue with us. So,
well, Ethan Hawke, I don't think generally is an asshole. I think you generally think he's an asshole.
Oh, sorry.
I think his character.
We were talking about
Julie Delpy is, kind of a arrogant French woman.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So let's see. Go see.
Check out Before Sunrise is actually playing on Netflix streaming, and you can get it on DVD. And
both are.
Both Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, yeah.
So.
And the new one coming out hopefully soon.
2013.
And I can only hope that Drake Doremus doesn't go the same route that Richard Linklater did, and decide to shoot all of his movies with rotoscope animation from now on. So check out the early non-rotoscope animation Before Sunrise,
Richard
starring
Linklater's
his first film, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy.
Out on DVD this week, Colombiana, the action thriller starring Zoe Saldana and written by Luc Besson. Our critic Ryan Bates liked this one despite its generic and slightly cheesy appearance. The quirky superhero comedy Griff the Invisible stars Ryan Quanten from True Blood, and as a marked Avenger who falls in love, this one slipped by, but the trailer looked pretty fun. Brian's pick of the week is the gritty and raw Bellflower, the ultra-low budget drama from local boys Evan Glodell and Tyler Dawson. It's a hard movie to watch, but trust me, the car is totally badass. Beginners, starring Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer, tells the story of a young man coming to grips with his dying father's revelation that he's gay. Critic Mick Nottingham says skip the pseudo-sentimental romp, unless you're a die-hard Mike Mills fan. And finally, from the Criterion Collection comes Jean Renoir's 1939 French classic, Rules of the Game. Considered by some as the best movie ever made, this critical look at bourgeois life in France before the war was banned in Europe for years. Renoir's masterpiece is now getting the Criterion Blu-ray treatment, which should be stunning and a must for any film lover.
Well, that's all the time we have today for the Cinema Beach podcast. Join us next week. We'll be talking about more indie films. I'm Brian Thompson, coming to you from the Cinemark Theater in downtown Long Beach.
And I'm Tony Ortiz.
Thanks for watching.